Welcome to Brooker Bonsai, and today we're pruning up my beech. This is a Yamadori that I collected locally, and over the years I've been kind of growing this branch structure. So today we've got a really big decision to make because we finally got this leader growing up the centre that we can use, and now we have 3 branches growing from one spot. So I'll need to decide whether I'm keeping the right branch or the left branch. So today we'll be removing quite a lot of foliage relative to the tree size itself. I'll also be removing the moss. It's probably about 2 inches thick, it's about this thick now, and it's growing onto the trunk, so that potentially can cause the bark to rot. So what I want to do is remove this, and then over winter it can sit and it doesn't allow the pot to get too wet because the moss can trap that moisture in the soil. And then in spring I've got the opportunity to remoss it again, or probably new moss will grow because the spores will be in the soil. So I'll zoom you in and we'll take a 360 view look of the tree and begin working on it. So here's the front of the tree, coming round to the side and the back. You can see there's this really big wound here where I trunk chopped it previously, but I'd say it's about 50% healed now. Going round to the side again and then back to the front. So the first thing I want to do is remove the soil, and you'll see it just pulls off like that, and you can see how thick it is. I've already identified that the slugs that are growing in the soil, so it's a good opportunity for me to find any of those and remove them. Continue to work away, just removing the soil, removing the moss from the soil. There's a few roots, surface roots, and a few roots that are circling the pot, so it looks like the tree's been growing quite well this year. We've still got some active root tips, which is quite surprising this late, but we've had a really cold spell followed by a slightly warmer spell, so I think the tree is a little bit confused with what's going on, but hopefully the temperatures will drop soon and we'll kind of come into the main part of winter. So we've got a really nice trunk starting to form. It's got a really nice nabari, and I just want to make sure that I'm removing all of the moss from the trunk because it will grow back pretty quick, potentially over winter, or definitely in spring. So we've now got a better look at the tree. You can see there's really nice kind of curves starting to form in the trunk, really subtle and really flowing and natural. The next step for me is to remove all this soil because I can reuse it to top dress the pot. And whilst I'm doing this, I'm just looking for any bugs or slugs that I found like before and removing them. I will set this moss aside and keep it over winter, and then in spring I can decide whether I want to moss the surface or if I'm just going to leave it. There will be loads of moss spores in the soil anyway, so it's likely to grow. So this is quite a long process, so I'll do this off camera, and then we'll come back once it's all done and begin surfacing the surface of the pot. So I'll just leave the moss here over winter, and it should be fine. There's been moss out here for quite a while now, and then I've got the choice in spring of whether I want to resurface those pots or to just grow it again from nothing. So all I want to do is just lay down a really thin layer of soil just to cover any of those surface roots. And that'll stop them from drying out over winter. So that's the soil all dressed up. It's ready to begin pruning. What I'm going to do is come in and remove some of these leaves, and that'll give me a really good view of the branch structure. So for this I like to use this spring-loaded scissors. It just, when you're cutting a lot of things frequently, just allows you to do it a bit quicker. When you're cutting a lot of leaves off, it can be quite time consuming if you're using like a non-spring loaded pair of shears. Now the reason we prune these branches, these leaves off, is because insects can hibernate in them over winter, and they're potentially a source of food for them. So by removing them, we just make sure that any eggs or anything like that that might be in the branch structure, or when the leaves drop on the soil, don't have anywhere to hide over winter. The tree's leaves are starting to turn yellow now, which is an indicator that they've withdrawn all the chlorophyll back into the tree or the trunk or the roots. So they're not contributing to the tree in any way, so it's time to remove them. You can see here the importance of removing the tree's leaves, because there's a snail here that would have been hibernating over winter. So I've just chucked that snail outside. I don't mind snails, you know, happy for them to roam around in the garden, just not on my trees. I am noticing that quite a few of these buds are already starting to leaf out again, which is slightly worrying. The trees leafing out. We have had quite a mild autumn, so hopefully you know, this defoliation, as well as the temperatures, which hopefully are going to be dropping soon, will force the tree to kind of go back into dormancy again. I'll keep an eye out on the tree. If it does decide to properly leaf out, then I might have to bring it into my plant room here and just leave it in here over winter. It's not the end of the world if I do that, but you know, just like with people, it's really important that trees also have a period of rest, and then they come back much stronger in spring. So yeah, whilst it might sound like a good idea that the tree continues growing over winter, it's actually quite counterintuitive, and it can cause the tree to grow quite slowly over spring. So that's the tree defoliated now, and you start to see some of the branch structures. We've got this first branch on the side here, a central branch, and then quite a developed side branch here. Last year I didn't have this branch, so we had this as the main leader of the tree, and because of how smooth and flowing the trunk is, this bit starts to feel a bit awkward. We've got these really jagged and angular forms. They will smooth out over time, but the kind of centre part of the tree is kind of not above the roots, and this makes the tree feel quite imbalanced. So now that we've got this kind of central leader running more directly up the centre of the tree, it presents a really good opportunity to move that apex, or that centre of the tree, back over the roots and give it that really strong, stable look later on in life. So whenever we're pruning the tree, we're always pruning for the future of the tree and what's best for it. So whilst it's really good, and we spent, you know, probably 1, 2, 3 years developing this branch, the reality is, for the overall design, we probably need to get rid of that branch now. As I showed you, we've got a big scar at the back here where I've removed a trunk, and that's starting to heal quite nicely. We're really fortunate that that's behind the tree, so it's not visible at the front. And what that's allowed us to do is create some really nice taper where you've got this kind of thick, strong branch going up into these kind of smaller branches and an even smaller apex. So the decision I have to make today is, I know that this top branch is going. It's whether I want to keep this right branch or keep this left branch. Because now we have, with this new central leader, we have 3 branches growing from one spot, and with the healing wound behind it, if we're not careful, we're going to see a lot of swelling starting to appear here on the tree, and that will create inverse taper. Inverse taper is where it's actually thinner at the bottom and thicker at the top, and we don't want that. I'm going to give this tree one last spin and just take a look at the branch structure before I make a decision, and I'll let you know what I decide. See, that's not too bad of a front, but we'd have to remove this branch. The back is just too big of a wound and doesn't look great. This is quite a sharp angle. The side here could be a possible front, but again we'd have to remove this branch, and we'd only have a back branch of the tree, but that is a potential front. So I spent some time looking at the tree, and my initial thought was to kind of remove this branch or this branch, and looking at the tree, it looks very flat and very square and quite open. And taking some time to study, I've actually found that this is potentially a better front to the tree, somewhere around there. We'd have to remove this front branch, which is not a problem. It would mean only one branch would be removed rather than kind of a whole section. The trunk, it flows really nicely. The apex is now over the tree, the center of the tree, and it's leaning slightly towards the viewer. So this gives a strong sense. And then we have some really nice back branches, and we'd probably have to remove that central leader. I'm going to remove this bottom branch here. Now there is a bit of a scar, but it's kind of underneath the branch, so it hopefully won't be too noticeable. Remove that apex. So that's the tree, the initial branch structure tidied up. I think also we can remove this back branch here, so let's do that. I've left a bit of a stub for dieback, and we now work our way up the tree. We've got a bud forming here, which I'll let grow this year, and we'll see if that's actually a better position, but for now we'll leave it. Come up the tree, we've got a stub here we can remove. Got a nice bud at the back here. That's a good direction, so we can potentially remove that top branch, and then we can prune it back to here. Same with the apex. So that's the tree all pruned up now. Next, what I want to do is add some of this this cut paste. So if we look at this wound here, we just add a blob of it like that, and that will allow the wound to heal, particularly over winter. Wounds like that can dry out, and that can cause the branch to die back. So by adding a bit of cut paste to it, it will just make sure the branch stays nice and healthy. So the last thing I want to do is spray some of this rose clear on the tree, and what that does is it will just kill any crawling insects that I might have missed and stop them from overwintering in the soil or on the branch structure. So here's the final version of the tree. We've changed the front slightly now, and we've got much better movement and a really defined leader. We've got a first branch which whilst kind of goes out to the back, it also comes out to the front as well, so we can develop that over time. We've got a really nice second branch here, and this will allow me to kind of grow the tree taller. So here's the front of the tree, coming around to the side, to the back of the tree, back around to the side, and to the front. So here are all the branches that I removed today. A couple of, relatively well developed ones and some smaller ones, as well as some of the leaves. I was really pleased that we were able to find a new front for the tree, because it meant not losing this really nice branch that I've been developing over the past 3 years. The tree now looks more stable, it's got a real clear leader with some great movement and taper, and the starts of 2 kind of really strong primary branches, and they'll develop over time. I did root prune this quite considerably this year. The roots were kind of forked like that, so I chopped off an entire side of the root base, and I'm hoping around that cut point now all new roots have grown, and it'll be nice and radial with fine roots there. And then next year or the following year I can cut the next kind of leg of that branch off, and I'll have a really nice radial root pattern. So that's this tree all set up. It's time to just put it now back on the bench to be overwintered. Thank you all for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed making it and looking after these trees. If you did, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.